My task here is not necessarily to add to the very elaborate and extensive and stimulating and challenging discussions that have taken place during those 2 days. But as I said in my remarks at the opening yesterday, the initial plan for the Berlin Forum was linked to the end of June 4 years ago. And frankly, the outlines of the program that we discussed here in Berlin on the 10th of March 2020 was very different from the experience that we have all had today and yesterday. I am absolutely convinced that the kind of discussions and sessions we have had in these 2 days would have been completely unthinkable in the preparatory process to the forum which was supposed to take place here in Berlin at the end of June 2020. And because of the pandemic, those plans, of course, were cancelled. So I want to thank all of you who have contributed to this dialogue and these sessions in these 2 days for having collectively brought forward the monumental changes in the challenges and the concerns and the tasks and the situation and the future possibilities that we now face in the Arctic. The discussions we have had on these dates in the last few hours have illustrated very strongly that the challenges we now face in the Arctic are inevitably linked to a major transformation, not only in Europe, but also geopolitically in the entire world. The luxury of talking about the Arctic, almost to take an analogy from my own country, inside a geothermal greenhouse, where almost everything is beautiful and peaceful and constructive and growing in a systematic way, is no longer with us, no longer with us. And all of you have, in one way or another, helped us to clarify that situation so strongly during your discussion. A year ago or so, the kind of dialogue on, for example, the consequences of the war between Russia and Ukraine would have been impossible, although the war had lasted about 1 year at that time. I also think the elements of scientific cooperation linking it to not just to the Arctic but the other polar regions is quite new on our agenda. And the systematic discussion, as we just had now, on the role of the European non-Arctic state in the future of the Arctic has become absolutely crucial. And also let us pay attention as well that although this forum was initially conceived as a primarily European platform, we have had formidable delegations from a number of Asian states, as well as from North America, with us in this dialogue. So, if anyone doubted that what was called in an innovative way 15 years ago, the global Arctic concept that made many people perplexed, we have seen in the evidence of the discussions here today and yesterday that this is the new reality that we have to deal with. And of course, we have not been able to provide the solutions. That has become clear as well. Many of these questions are still open for discussions and dialogue. And I have increasingly said, and although I know I'm supposed to give only concluding remarks, let me add it, let us not assume that when we are ready to work with Russia, that Russia will be ready to work with us. That is by no means given. And I also think one of the lessons of the last 2 years is that the assumption we made in the first months after the war started, that Russia had very few options, except the options we defined in the West, is not true. We see a continuation of the Asian side of the Russian Arctic working with the other Asian states in numerous ways. So there are other options on the table than those that we in Europe and perhaps in North America think that are on the table. And this forum concludes a series of 3 forums that we have organized in the last 15 months, starting in January of last year in Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates, on the theme of comparing the Arctic experience to the challenges that the Himalayan countries, India, China, Nepal, Bhutan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, face with the melting of the glaciers in the Himalaya regions. Then, a few months later, we went to Tokyo, where a number of ministerial leaders of the Japanese government used the forum to elaborately express the long-term interest of Japan in Arctic engagement. And now we are concluding here in Berlin, the 3rd in this series. We are therefore very grateful to our German partners, the ministries, as well as the Alfred Wegener Institute and the German Arctic Office, and all the other German partners, to having so constructively helped us to navigate the challenge of creating a program in May of 2024, which reflected the new challenges that we face in the Arctic. Many of you have praised the Arctic Circle for our efforts, and of course, we thank you for your praise, and we appreciate it. But let me also say that we are acutely aware of the responsibilities we carry forward due to the fact that we are probably the only partner now on the scene effectively engaging in creating a pan-Arctic, pan-global dialogue on the future of the Arctic. Unfortunately, the challenges and the difficulties that others have had is that either their activities are limited, as we have seen in the Arctic Council, or they restrict themselves to a more narrow definition. So you have also provided us with a lot of input in how we shoulder this responsibility as we go forward. Of course, we will meet at the Arctic Circle Assembly in October. We already have over 200 proposals for sessions at the Arctic Circle Assembly in October. And we are increasingly taking over additional buildings to the harbor complex in order to accommodate this well over 2,000 people from more than 70 countries who have already declared their interest in attending. And in the coming months, we will decide where we will take the forums in the next 2 years. There are a number of countries that have indicated to us their interest, and they are not just in Europe or in the Arctic states, they are also in different parts of the world. So we witnessed almost, I wouldn't say every day, but definitely every week in our engagement, how global the interest in the future of the Arctic has become. And if we are going to execute this responsibility of organizing how all of you and others can come together and constructively engage in this dialogue, we need the continuation of your involvement. We need the continuation of those of you who have not only attended this forum, but previous forums on the Assembly, and because you understand and you know from the practice how we want to conduct this in an open, democratic, responsible way, where everyone who has something to say will be given the opportunity to make a contribution. The Arctic Circle is, in that sense, a new model of trying to bring forward international cooperation. It is democratic, open, available to anyone to organize dialogues and discussions in their own name, with full authority over the sessions that they propose. Such a democratic empowerment of the participation in solving some of the acute global problems is rather unique. But all of you and those who have participated in the assemblies and the forums before have together demonstrated that this is possible. This model actually works. And that has for me been one of the great experiences of these 2 days in Berlin, is the demonstration that this new model of bringing people from different countries, different areas, different views, different agendas together in constructive, open dialogue without necessarily exercising a centralized authority of what can be said and how it should be said and so on and so forth, actually work. That this open democratic invitation to the international arena is possible. And that is one of the reasons why I'm still optimistic, despite these challenges and the difficulties we face, and the wars and the increasing conflicts and geopolitical tension. Otherwise, I will just stay in Iceland and read books and actually go for walks. So thank you all for having, once again, demonstrated that this new model of global engagement actually works. We are extremely grateful to all of you for your contribution. And once again, I want to thank our German partners for having so constructively and effectively helped us to bring the Arctic Circle Forum to Berlin, a city which symbolized the divided world for the first many decades of my political engagement, and has now become a vibrant cultural, political, social center of Europe. And in that sense, it was fitting that we brought this new model of engagement to the capital of Germany, Berlin. Thank you all. I invite you to now join the reception in this extraordinary building. When I walked in here a few months ago, I realized the possibilities we would have in this more than 100 years old building. I was thrilled with the possibility of exercising this democratic model here, at the heart of Berlin, in a building which was once a powerhouse, then an opera house, and now a multi-dimensional cultural center, where we will bring the memory of the Berlin Forum to other engagement as we go forward in this international journey. Thank you all, and please enjoy the space outside, the company of each other, and let us meet again at the Assembly in Reykjavik in October. Thank you.